Okay, so in the previous video, we were looking at all our operating modes. So if we see here, if we press the stop push button, then you can see that changing state. If I click the e-stop here, then I can see that my flashing light is here, right? And that's no longer true. When I bring this back to the rest state, then the red light goes solid here. And if I press the start push button, then it starts the sequence here. Okay, it looks like I'm in manual mode. If I move this over to automatic mode, then everything starts rock and rolling. So our two steps here were manual mode and automatic mode. So right now I'm in automatic mode because I've selected auto and I'm currently not in the manual mode. Okay, if I go back and change it to the manual mode, let me just grab this here. There we go. So now in manual mode, you can see here that this is no longer true for the auto mode. And here there's only one, remember that there's only one input for the auto selector switch, right? So if the auto is no longer on, that means I'm in manual mode and I'm not in auto mode. So then turn on the manual mode. And here we can see that when I hit this start push button, then as long as I'm in manual mode and I hit the start push button and the positive trigger is seen, then it'll send one pulse for the start one shot. So doing that now, see that one shot come in, let her go, press it again, right? Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. So you can see it changing state there in the program, but sometimes you won't be able to see this one shot come through. Yeah, it seems like it was working the first time, but now we're no longer seeing this. Clearly it's moving through the steps, but we're not seeing that one shot visible right here. Okay, then finally we had the reset mode. So the reset mode right now I've got the Z down here and the X out. So when I hit the reset mode, it should reset my count here and bring everything back to the home position. And there's a reset light here as well. I may not have put this in the previous video. When I press this one, then for 1 second, the timer will time out. It'll reset all of these guys, and the light for the reset push button will be illuminated in that timing. Okay, doing that now. Beautiful. So everything goes back to the rest state, and my counter goes back to 0. Okay, we'll reset the animation here. Anything else down here? We got e-stop mode. So that is going to be seen in other portions of the PLC program, but for now we're just turning on e-stop mode. And then the home position, we can see here that if I put it into, what are we in, manual right now? If I press the start push button, then the conveyor turns on, and then I'm still in the home position because my move X is off, my move Z is off, clamp lid and clamp base are both off. So that is what I denoted as my home position. You guys can decide what specific actuators and positions of everything denote your home position. If I press the push button again, as soon as those guys clamp, then again I've lost the home position, right? They're clamped now, and I'm no longer in the home position. If I reset, then everything goes back to rest state, and now I'm back to my home position. Okay, let's reset the animation, reset everything in our program, and let's go on to our step definition now. Okay, let's take a look at our step definition now. So our first network right here is not going to be intuitive to you. So this is an addition that I put in here. So you can try it without this network and then try it with this network and see whether it works better for you. So in this case, every network here within my step definition moves a value right here. This is going to move 1 into my database next step, right? That is found over here in my steps, and steps just has next step and current step, and we mentioned earlier that they're both integer values. Okay, so it moves it over into next step. You can see that the next network here, network number 3, moves 2 into next step, right? So each step value gets moved into next step. Then at the top of the program here, so the scan is going to go down to the bottom, right? Move a value into next step. But I didn't want it to go like 4, 5, 6, right? Like go through a number of steps without being confirmed, and have me in control of the steps. So next step is then moved here, right? So next step goes into this move function, and next step is moved into the data block for current step. And then I take a look at current step, right? So I have 2 separate databases, right? Next step and current step. And I can't go forwards until this has happened. The value that was moved into next step is moved into current step, and then I say, okay, is current step equal to 0? Is current step equal to 1? Is current step equal to 2? Okay, so hopefully you can see how this one for me was crucial in stopping the steps from sequencing through without me being in control. Okay, so two different databases. Try data blocks. Try this, see how it works with it, see how it works without. Without, you would have to make this into next steps, right? So I found that this worked in that I have two databases and this value gets moved over to here. So every scan, like the program has to wait for each scan in order for that to happen. Then I can compare it down here. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to start this up. So I'm going to reset the animation, reset everything here. And then I'm going to put this into automatic mode and we'll see this rock and rolling. I'm going to hit the start push button and start the sequence here. And as I talk, we'll see how many things we get through before it breaks itself. But let's take a look at the first network here. So in automatic mode, and keep in mind that as I built this program up, I did everything in the automatic mode. I did each step. I made sure that that step worked perfectly, saved it. Then I brought in another network and started on the next step in automatic mode. I did not start the manual mode until I was completely finished the automatic mode. The manual mode is super simple. Manual mode is just simply, am I in manual mode and have I pressed that start one shot? Okay, remember that the start one shot is over here in operating modes. It's within the manual mode. So am I in manual mode? Have I pressed the start push button? That was the P trig set. And if it was, then that one pulse will come through and %m2.5 will be set for one little pulse there, right? So that little pulse comes through. And then as long as I am in the correct previous step, in this case 0, then move 1 into next steps. Okay, so step 1 is supposed to turn the conveyors on and the lid conveyors on. Okay, for step number 2, as long as I'm in the auto mode and the start mode, and you'll see that these are most likely auto mode and start mode are probably in almost every network there. And I've been confirmed that step number 1 has done, right? So the conveyors have turned on. Now I want the conveyors to turn off. Okay, so I want to move the value of 2 into next steps, and next steps, step number 2 is going to turn the base and the lid conveyors off. Okay, this is the one where I didn't make use of the start one shot because I didn't find that it was intuitive for the operator to press the start push button in order to stop the conveyor. So this just says in manual mode, if step number 1 has happened, then move step number 2 right away. Okay. Hopefully the speed at which I'm going through is okay. It's not too fast and not too slow here. Okay, so that was network number 3. Network number 4 is going to be just moving the value of 3 into next steps. Okay, so for this guy, I said, all right, as long as I'm in auto mode and start mode, right, same as this one up here, and the previous step was number 2, and each of these guys are false, and I think this is actually my home position. So I'll have to go back and see whether lid of place, base of place, lids conveyor, base conveyor. I don't think that was my home position. I think it was a little bit different. So I said, all right, as long as the lid of place is false, the base of place is false, lids conveyor and base conveyor are both off, then I want the program to clamp the lid and clamp the base, right? So that would be right there, right? So clamping it, and then moving the value of 3 into my next step, okay? For step number 4, that's where I'm going to move the Z down. We just saw that right there, right? So auto mode is true, start mode is true. The lid is clamped, the base is clamped. Beautiful. Move the Z down, okay? And as long as I'm in, the previous step was number 3, right? So move 4 into next steps, and 4 is going to move the Z axis down. Okay, next thing is to turn on the vacuum, so the grab lid. So in this case, for network number 6, auto mode is true, start mode is true. I'm no longer moving the Z axis. Okay, so it's come to a stop. The item is actually there, it's been detected, right? So I'm moving this down, item's been detected, turn the vacuum on, and I can only do that if step number 4 was my previous step. Okay, so that moves step number 5 into next steps. Beautiful. And then again, next step goes into current step at the top of the program. And again, you'll see here for manual mode that all I've done is just put manual mode and the start one shot in parallel with all the initiating contacts here. As long as these are true and the previous step was 4, then move step number 5 into the next steps. Okay, next one is that I want the clamp lid off. So once I've turned on the vacuum there, then I want this to release. So auto mode is true, start mode is true, the grab is true, so I've actually grabbed onto the lid there. Previous step was number 5, move 6 into next steps, and step 6 is going to turn off the clamp lid. Okay, again, manual mode is just simply manual mode, and start one shot in parallel or going around the initiating contacts. As long as I was previous step in step number 5, manual mode is true, start one shot has been pressed once again, then move 6 and clamp the lid. Okay, we'll see that there's no execution of anything. The execution of all this is in a separate function. Okay, so step number 7, I want to move the Z off, right? I want to lift this up here. So auto mode is true, start mode is true. The lid clamp has been released. Previous step was step 6. Move step 7 into next steps and lift this guy up. That would be this right there. Okay? Again, manual mode is just simply manual mode and start one shot around the initiating contacts there. As long as I'm in step number 6, pressing this one right here will move step 7 there. Okay, next one. I want to move the X. I want to move it across here. Auto mode, start mode. Previous networks have that as well. And the moving Z. So I'm no longer lifting up. At that point, then I can move that across. Okay, you'll see that in at this point I needed to put some timers in because things were happening a little bit too fast and it was just wham smacking into the side there. So I had to cheat a little bit and use a timer there. Okay, as long as step 7 was my previous step, then move 8 over and move the X on. Okay, that moves us over to here. Now we want to move Z down. Okay, so auto mode, start mode, moving X. I'm no longer moving in the X direction, right? The previous step was 8, move 9 into next steps, and then we're good to go. Okay, that should move the Z axis over. Once the Z axis, not over, but down, once the Z axis is down, then I want to release the suction cup, right? So auto mode is true, start mode is true. I'm still moving the Z, right? The move Z is down, right? That's initiating, but I physically stopped moving, right? So there's another input there for moving Z. So at this point, it's come down. I still have the move Z down, but it's finished moving. Hopefully that makes sense. Step 9 was my previous step. Move step 10 into next steps and turn off the vacuum. Okay, step 11. So every step is being done. I'm saving, resetting the circuit, and then going through each one to make sure that my automatic mode works before going on to the next network. Okay, so automatic mode, start mode is set. The grab is no longer true, so I'm no longer suctioning that component. Previous step was step 10, move step 11 into next steps. And again, just as I said before, manual mode is and start one shot pulse are in parallel with all the initiating contacts. As long as this is pressed, previous step was 10, move 11 into next steps. Okay, next one, guys. As soon as I've let go of the part here and the clamp base has been released, then I want the unit to come up and back to the home position here. So at that point, auto mode is true, start mode is true. The base is no longer clamped. Previous step was step 11. So move step 12 into next steps and move the Z and move the X off, right? So that'll move it back to this position right here. Beautiful. At that point, I want the positive this to lift up. So that would be right here, right? So that lifted up. Okay. And again, that can only happen if the previous step was step 12. So step 13 gets moved into next steps and positive raise bases is on. Okay, at that point, the next thing I need to do is turn the conveyors on, right? So auto mode, start mode, positive raise bases is true, positive limit bases is true. Step 13 was my previous step. Move 14 into next steps and turn the conveyors on. Okay, if I wanted to do that in manual mode, I would have to be set in manual mode and press the start push button once again. Okay, from here on in manual mode, I no longer have to hit the start push button because it wasn't intuitive for me to have somebody press the push button to have this go down and to turn the conveyor off, right? So that's why that little hiccup there is there on the back end there. So step 15 is the positive raised base is off. So auto mode is true, start mode is true, just like every other network. Part leaving, so that is this sensor right here, right? So this guy right here, when the part is leaving, then the negative edge is tripped, right? So the part has to come back by, go to a 1, go to a 0, the negative edge is tripped there, and then the unit for the positive raised bases goes down. Okay, and it can only happen if the previous step was 14. 15 gets moved into next steps, and the positive raised bases goes down. Beautiful. Then I want the conveyor to turn off. The reason for that was because I have parts still moving and they were smashing into here, so I stopped the conveyor there. Manual mode does that on its own as long as step 15 was true. In the automatic mode has to be true, start mode has to be true. Previous step was 15, and move 16 over to next steps and turn the conveyors off briefly. Okay, that's that little brief hiccup you'll see, hang on, right here. Conveyor will turn off there, that little hiccup there. And that was just because in manual mode, I needed that to happen. If you can fix that for me, awesome, show me how to do it. Okay, and then finally, I need to reset everything. I want to go right back to the top and have the sequence keep going. So auto mode is true, start mode is true, just like every other network. I'm back in the home position. So in the home position, if I go to my operating modes, my home position was that move X is off, move Z is off, clamp Z is off, and clamp base is off. So if those guys were true, easy now, and step 16 had already been set, then move 0 into next steps. And by moving 0 into next steps, then we move all the way up to the top here. Starting here at step 0. And again, with all of these guys, it has to wait for each scan, and next step is moved over to current step, and then I can compare it to each of these values. So now the sequence keeps going. So I would say that this program is pretty good so far. We have had 71 different parts come through, and we haven't broken it yet. Okay, let's see if we press the stop push button. So let me get this set up so we can press the stop push button. Okay, at that point, everything stops. We're currently in step number 2. So when we press the start push button again, then we should move on to the next steps, right? So it should always hold that position for that step. When we press the start push button again, then we should keep going. Okay, so there I broke it, right? So there was something there in that something was missing there for the stop. That's frustrating. So I'll have to take a look at my program. I'm not sure what was missing there. We were at 73, we were doing so well. So if we reset it, it goes into manual mode. There's our automatic mode. Let's see if the stop sequence stops maybe right here. Okay, so step 5, press the start push button and it should continue. Okay, that's cool. Not sure. It's probably the issue with my program and with yours as well is going to be this sensor right here. So this guy right here looks for the negative edge of the part coming through right there. And so if that negative edge hasn't happened, then the rest of the program is not going to move forwards. I would find that the better setup would be for this to be moved over, like angled a touch, to actually see that the part is in place. But that's not what they were looking for in this setup. They were looking for the negative edge there. So for me, this sensor is what continuously breaks my program. Okay, so we've seen that the stop was working there. Let's stop it in a couple more spots and make sure that everything keeps going. So we'll stop it right there. Currently on step 10, we'll press start again and see if it continues on. Very nice. Okay, looks good. And we'll stop it maybe one more time here. Okay, currently on step 4, press the start again and it should start from step 4. So beautiful. Excellent. Okay, so everything's rocking and rolling here. Let's hit the E-stop now. Okay, we hit the E-stop, flashing light here. Everything has come to a stop. I'm going to put the E-stop back to its rest position. And then I'm going to hit the start push button, and we'll see we're currently in step 4. We'll see, nice, everything keeps going. Okay, let's wait for it to get through. Let's put the e-stop over here and see if everything's cool over there. Okay, so at that point we hit the e-stop. Everything's come to a stop. We check to see on what the issue was with the operator there. At that point we put the e-stop back to its rest state. The red light goes back to solid red. Press the start. We're currently in step 10, and yes, we keep going in the sequence there. Beautiful. Okay, so hopefully everything makes sense so far in the automatic mode. Let me show you the manual mode now. Okay, so let's take a look at the manual mode. So I have reset the animation. Every time that you reset the animation, it seems to go to the manual mode here. Okay, so we're good there. It's waiting on the start one shot now. At the moment, my steps are 0, right? So current step is 0. I'm going to press the start. And obviously when I press the start, the one shot will come through, and the 1 will come through to next steps, and the base and the lid conveyor should turn on. So doing that now. Okay, so base and lid conveyor turn on. Nice. And now we're on to step 2 here. So remember that I said that it wasn't intuitive for me to have an operator press this push button to have the conveyor turn off. So step 2 has happened, and the base conveyor and lid conveyor have turned off. Okay, and let's go for step number 3. So step number 3 is the clamp lid and clamp base. Waiting on this start one shot. Everything else is true at the moment. So pressing that start push button again. Beautiful. Both the base and the lid are clamped now. Okay, now moving down to the next one. So still waiting on the start one shot to come through. Next thing should be the move Z. Move Z should be turned on. Pressing that now. Beautiful. That comes down. Okay, next step. Isn't this cool how you can control each step now with the push button? Okay, so the next step is to grab the lid. So pressing that now. Okay, grab lid has it happened? Next thing is the clamp lid is off, right? So I couldn't hear the vacuum because I don't have the audio in my ear here, but the grab has set. Now the clamp lid is off. Okay, so we're going to move to the next point right here. So next step would be that this move Z is turned off and the part moves up. Beautiful. Okay, next thing is I want to move this over. So that's going to be the move X, right? So when I press this push button again, and you can see here that step 7 has been confirmed. So now I can press the push button and move the X axis over. Beautiful. Okay, so next step is to bring the Z down. So doing that now by pressing the start push button. There she goes. Okay, so that was step 9. Step 10, grab lid off. So we press that and the vacuum turns off. Looks good. So step 10 is confirmed. Step 11, clamp base is off. So pressing the start push button and the clamp base turns off. Beautiful. Next step is that move Z and move X are off. So that's going to bring this up and back to the home position. Beautiful. Okay. Step 12 is we did step 12. Step 13, positive raised base is on. So that will lift this up. Very nice. Okay, so step 13 is confirmed. Step 14, turn on both the base conveyor and the lid conveyor. So pressing the start push button now, both conveyors turn on. And you'll see that this dropped down right away and the conveyor turned off. That is because, if we take a look here, I didn't think it was going to be intuitive for an operator to press the start push button to have this drop down or to stop the conveyor. So you'll see that manual mode goes straight to here. And as long as the part leaving, so that's this sensor right here, as long as that has seen the negative edge, so it's gone to a 1 and then to a 0. Once that's happened, and step 14 was our previous step, then we have the positive raised bases off, so this drops down. And then at that point, I also turned off the conveyor because I had an issue with parts coming through and smashing into this guy if I had waited too long to hit the start push button. So this and this have the manual mode going straight to the move function here, as long as the previous step had occurred. Okay, so last step here, guys, is to, again, automatic. If I go down here, manual modes bring this automatically. If step 16 has happened, if the conveyors have turned off, then I'm going to move a value of 0 to next steps, right? So that brings me right back to the start, and then restarts the animation. So all of the manual positions have been able to work with each of the pressing of the start push button. Let me just zoom in here one more time, and we'll take a look at this one more time just to make sure everything's cool. So pressing the start push button turns this on, closes the clamp lid and clamp base. Z goes down, vacuum turns on, release that, bring the Z up, move the X over, turn the Z on again. There we go. Release that clamp. Sorry, release the vacuum, release that clamp. Okay, positive. This then, the Z and the X go back to the rest state. Beautiful. This lifts up, conveyor turns on, and see, there may be a little issue with parts there, right? So we'll have to play around with that with the timing of everything. Okay, so a little hiccup there, but let's see if the sequence works, and then I'll show you how you can go from manual mode to automatic mode. So just making sure that sequence works properly here. Beautiful. Come down, grab it, let go of that clamp, lift it up, move it over, drop her down. Beauty. Let go of the suction cup. There we go. Go back to the home position. Looks good. Then this is going to raise up. Next time the conveyor is going to turn on and turn off. Beautiful. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to move this into automatic mode, and it should run perfectly now. Okay, so hopefully everybody's cool here with the step definitions. I'm going to take a break here, come back to you in the next video, and we're going to take a look at the step executions. All right, guys, hopefully you're pleased with it so far. I'll see you guys on the next video.